Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call, and I'm joined today by my brother, the Gritty Broman. How are you, Brent?
Well, thank you.
Right on. We are crushing films right now.
Crushing films, being crushed by films. I mean, tomatoes, whatever.
Yeah, our life is really trying to edit up all these films because we've got so much going on right now, and we've promised to drop every Sunday, which might be a little more than we're quite capable of, along with everything else going on. But super excited about the film, the one we released on Sunday, Wolf Down. Ryan Shoots the Wolf. That's episode 1. I'm stoked. It's at almost 85,000 views, and it's just Thursday right now as we record this.
And that's episode 1 of a spring bear hunt, not a wolf hunt.
Right. But almost we're over 1,300 comments from everyone that's chimed in and shared their comments on the film. It's been awesome. I'm thrilled with that, and I hope each subsequent episode keeps everybody excited as we move on through. But if someone out there, we actually are getting crushed by our workload, and we've never really done this. We've kind of floated it out. I've had some internship kind of opportunities where people reached out to us, but we're really at a point right now where we don't really have time to teach someone anything, train anyone. If you're a film dude that can make film, we're ready to contract a little work out to get some editing done. You know, I have a production in mind. I have it laid out. I know what I want from it. I just need another set of hands to help produce. So if you have skill, preferably with Final Cut Pro, and you're a film editor and you need some work, or you got some time, or you want to work with us, we have some projects we could use some help on. Otherwise, I don't know if we're going to, we have a lot we want to get out the door, and I don't like sitting on all this film. I want to get it out. I want it published. I want it out there. And then our new hunts are rolling up around the corner in September, and frankly, we've just got a lot on our plate. So if you can make movies,
come talk to us. And Brian, where can they?
I think maybe the best way to get a hold of us, if you're not on our locals, our Gritty Stealthy community at locals, that's if you get on there and you make a post or send a message, I'm going to see it 100%. But if you do Gritty Bowman at grittybowman.com, if you send us an email, send it there, GrittyBowman at grittybowman.com.
And that's E-N, right?
E-N, M-E-N, not man, min. It's plural, Gritty Bowman, plural. B-O-W-M-E-N. So GrittyBowman at grittybowman.com. Send us a note there if you are interested in doing some film work with us. We just want to get some extra hands on some of the footage we have to help us produce a few extra shows. Otherwise, we're going to turn up short by the time hunting season rolls around. I foresee that, so I want to avoid that. I want to make sure we get all this content out the door. But yeah, the feedback has been really cool, and I'm excited to drop the next show, and it's pretty much done. I have another maybe half a day to get it finished, and then Brent's already starting on the 3rd episode, and I've got other projects at various stages of completion, and it's going to be fun to drop all that.
It's interesting. We're balancing a workload we've never had before. It's difficult.
Yeah. We're
planning on what to edit and where to go and what to do next, because you're working on one film, I'm working on one film. We're handing back and forth.
We're faster than we've ever been. Like we turn films out pretty quick. I think a lot of people would take 2 or 3 weeks to produce what we can do in 40 hours.
Yeah. Still, come join us.
But at the same time, there's only the two of us. Brad is supposed to be helping us, but so far, Brad, I'm calling you out. I haven't got much help from Brad. He's busy. He's working on his new place and everything too. So things are just a little crazy and hectic right now. It's just how life is sometimes. But we're excited. We really appreciate all the feedback we're getting on all the films. And Brent was reading through some of the questions. We had a couple we wanted to talk about today. And one of the questions that has come up multiple times is, why didn't you just shoot the bear from the other side of the canyon?
Yeah.
Rather than going down, across the river, and up the other side. And if you've been following us for a while, you know that we try to get as close as we can and not take long-range shots. Now, today's modern equipment is absolutely capable of those longer shots, and we understand that. Part of it is the hunt we want to have. We want it to be a little more challenging, a little more difficult. We want to impose that challenge on ourselves, right? Make the hunt a little more of a adventure, in a sense. You know, we went up there to go after that bear. After all that work and after all that grind, we had that bear at 80 yards. And somehow, just as we literally see the bear and we just drop our packs slowly and quietly, look up, and that bear was gone. Gone. I mean,
It's not like there was a whole lot of hillside to hide.
no, it was just like, oh, there he is. I thought he's dead.
Yeah.
But the wind, every now and then you get a drift or some kind of wind pattern that, and we were so close. It doesn't take much, just the wind,
And they smell good.
just a swirl, and I'm pretty sure the bear caught our scent because he was there just eating grass and then just gone. It's as if he ran, you know. But those things happen, right? And so after going all the way down and all the way up and getting in position, having victory right there, just snatched out of your hand at the last minute, out of your grasp, it sucks. But that was the challenge, right? Can you do it? And there's something to be said for imposing those challenges. It's the reason we hunt with a recurve, or we hunt with a compound, or we hunt with the muzzle loader. Like each of these are different levels of difficulty we're imposing on ourselves. Or maybe it's the quarry is at the top of a mountain, you know, or whatever. You're imposing these challenges on yourself for the hunt you're trying to have. So getting close is the hunt we want to have. There's another reason, and probably the number one reason is you can have precise shots, not damage any meat when you get close. And I think generally you're going to have far less suffering than what a lot of people, just because their rifles can shoot that far, just because they have modern equipment and tech and all of that, you don't really know exactly what the wind is doing across that canyon. You don't really know. There's all these variables, and sure, the best of the best can get in there and figure some of that stuff out. But I think every yard you add to your shot, the potential of wounding or causing undue harm is there. It just goes up. And for us, getting close and making an unmissable shot is what we're looking for. Rather not take that shot and try to put that challenge on ourselves to get closer and then take a shot where we know we won't miss. Generally, this works out for us 9 times out of 10 where we get the animal. And I see a lot of guys taking those longer shots and not getting their animal. Or worse yet, hitting it poorly and the animal gets away. And so they've killed it. They just never found it. We don't really ever deal with that, right? Because we don't miss. Because we don't, either the animal gets away completely, like this bear did, or we get him. There's very rarely the situation where the animal gets killed and we don't find it, you know, because we just don't take shots we might miss. Not that we're perfect, and not that we haven't made mistakes, and all of that.
9 out of 10 times you're shooting it and it's dropping.
Yeah, and we're getting close. We're getting within range. Now, I will say that this particular hunt it's so steep and so difficult to hunt because of those angles, and because a lot of times your visibility is to the other side of the canyon, that being able to shoot 450 or 500 yards and extending like your limit for how far you want to shoot, you'll see as more episodes come out that if we were willing to shoot 450 to 500 yards,
not much more than what you're already committed
which
to.
we're trying to cap at 300, but we've all killed animals at 450 and in. Ryan and I think he killed a chamois at 450. I've killed an animal
and
at 450.
Very bad angle at 450.
Well, I was going to say, though, that we practice at those ranges and we're capable at those ranges, but the goal is to get closer. But in some terrain, like where the chamois was on our New Zealand hunt, that's as close as you were going to get.
It pinned you.
You weren't going to get closer. Normally, when a guy says that, I laugh. It's like, yes, you could get closer. Shut up. Shut up. Yeah, you could get closer. Don't tell me you can't get closer.
450 yards.
Yeah, like, come on.
He's literally standing on an island.
On a cliff of an island of shale, a mountain of shale. There's no sneaking up on him.
He's got nothing but shale 100 yards in every direction. He's literally on an island.
Well, he's on a rock above the trees. And if he drops below that rock, he disappears forever. And he's on the top of a mountain where if he just goes over, like there's so much that can go wrong. And we deliberated over that for a long time. And then Ryan took the 450-yard shot and he smoked it. And I've been in the same position. Sometimes the terrain legit does make it impossible or next to or very difficult for you to get closer before the opportunity is gone forever, And so being able to shoot just a little bit further, being willing to shoot another 100 yards more than we have in the past can make a big difference for what you bring home. But you got to balance that with the type of hunt you're trying to have and the challenges you're trying to have. This hunt, though, was such that with those steeps, there are some beautiful bears we did not get because we didn't take those shots that we're well capable of making. So it'll be still, I can't say that I regret it because I like that challenge, and I'll tell you this, by doing it the way we did, I learned things about the terrain, the wind patterns, and how to get to certain positions for times in the future. And I'd almost guarantee you that I'll be able to get, if I go back to this area, I know it now. I know it in a way that I wouldn't know it if I just shot it and went and got the animal, because I know how to get there because I did the stalk with the wind correct, with the terrain. I found the slots through the 30-foot face cliffs where I could weave and bob my way up to the top to get in position. I found the area where I should be in ambush within 200 or 250 yards from where the bear would come if I was there. And we saw multiple bears come into some of these spots. Now we know the terrain. Even though some bears got away, we know it in a way that makes us that much more deadly the next time. Plus, each one of these times where we don't get the animal, they build your skills with your mapping tools, your sense of direction, the routes you decide to take, paying attention to the wind. Like each of these self-imposed challenges by forcing yourself to get closer make you a more skilled hunter down the line, right? If you think about it, a guy who smokes stuff at 1,000 yards, how does he really develop the skills, to be a better hunter? He's improved his skills to be a better shooter, but not necessarily a better hunter. And if you are into bow hunting as much as we are, each of these, imposing on ourselves these limitations of a 300-yard shot maximum or, 400 in certain areas, they push you to get in better and better hunting experience, more honed. And then when you translate that into other parts, other hunting where, like with archery, you got to get way closer. All the rifle hunts I go on that give me challenges with logistics, like you got to go down these cliffs and you got to cross a river and you got to climb up the cliff on the other side. You got to keep the wind right. You got to get yourself into the position where you're going to kill that animal or intercept him as he's leaving. All of that done with a rifle, imposing those things on yourself, like I said, just makes you that much better and more deadly when you got a bow in your hand when bow season rolls around. If you're just shooting 1,000 yards and then you're just going over there to retrieve it, it's a different thing. Does that make sense? It's a different thing. You're not pushing your hunting skills as much. But that's why we do it. And I'm not judging anyone who does it a different way. I don't think it's generally as effective as people think it is. I think people think they're better shots and can shoot further than they really can.
Well, I think they can on the range, but I think once you got that adrenaline going, it's a different thing. And I don't think people, I think people underestimate that.
So that's the issue with why we didn't shoot it from that side of the canyon. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are going to say, well, that's dumb. I just shoot it, and to each their own. I'm just telling you where we're at. Same with the bow in hand. I do the same thing. Just because I can shoot 90 yards with a bow on an animal and kill it, doesn't mean I should. And because I force myself to get closer and closer and closer and make shots I know I won't miss, take shots I know I won't miss, I'm killing more and more animals than I have in the past. These opportunities only happen here and there every so often. So being able to capitalize on those opportunities by being patient and getting the perfect shot is well worth it, in my opinion. Because I used to be like, take the first shot you know you can make. I mean, I said it years ago. Mm-hmm. I said it years ago. And the truth is, I guess that would be a true statement if you're really honest with yourself. Right?
Mm-hmm. Is this really the first shot that I can make, or am I forcing this shot?
Right. And just because I can make a shot at 50 yards and I know I can make it, doesn't mean I'm going to make it in this moment on that animal right now. Like,
yeah. Just because I can throw from one end of the basketball court to the other doesn't mean. I
doesn't mean it's going to go in the hoop.
Attempting my ability to attempt the shot is still
that I've made on the range. Yeah. It's a different thing. But now I'm like, no. You just wait for you either get a shot that you just feel like you're gonna make, like a solid shot opportunity, or you stay in the game. Yeah. Don't blow it. Stay in the game. Yeah. Wait it out. Work for another shot. If it takes 4 hours from now, if you have to let that animal walk around the corner, disappear, and maybe lose it just to get back on it again and kill it, you're always still in the game. I go back to this all the time. If you're going to take, like, let's say with a bow and arrow, you're going to take a 70-yard shot on an animal, but it's not a great shot. It's windy. Animal's kind of moving. You're rushed. You had to dial. He took a couple steps. You're like, I don't know. Don't take that shot. Mm-hmm. Don't blow whatever potential opportunity might be presented in the next 5 hours or 10 hours or the next day on a crappy opportunity you're going to force right now.
Yep.
If you're not going to make the shot anyway, then don't take it. Stay in the game. Mm-hmm. Keep the opportunity alive. And that, man, took a lot of discipline on my end, a lot of growth on my end to move to that state. And I still get excited and stoked and everything and still make bad choices. But in general, the Brian today is a lot more disciplined and mature and patient than the old Brian. And it's paying off big time. So, yeah, take those shots. You're really comfortable with. You're in the pocket. You're like, yeah, that's my shot. He's dead. And hold out for those. There was another question. A bunch of people said, does Ryan just get to shoot everything first?
I know.
And then everybody else gets to shoot after he tags out?
Does Ryan have permanent veto power?
Yeah, does Brian have first right of refusal on every animal spotted? No, he does not. He absolutely does not. Whoever spots the animal first gets to go after it. Mm-hmm. It just so happens that Ryan spots the animal first most of the time.
Weird.
Not to say I haven't. I spotted some studs. Some great opportunities.
You are an expert spotter, Brian.
Yeah. I'm actually quite handy behind the glass. I'm better and better every day, every year, every hunt. Yeah, I'm qualified. I'm skilled in my own right. But look, Ryan Lampert is a freak. He's a next level hawk, eagle eye. He can spot stuff. It's uncanny. Now, like I said, I'll still spot critters. Seems like whenever I spot a giant, Ryan's not there. Like Coos deer hunting or something. I'm like, because had we both sat down, I'll find the Coos deer.
Yeah.
It'll take me 20 minutes. Ryan will find it in 7. Yeah. So when we sit down together, I'll find it. I just don't find it as before him. So usually when I'm alone, I find all the giants when Ryan's not with me. Now, the other thing is I'm filming. Like, I don't know, people, I'm grabbing my camera. I'm focused on the filming. I'm focused on this shot, that shot, setting up, getting the moment when it happens, not 20 minutes or 30 minutes. So we crest a hill. I want to catch whatever happens live. If we see an animal, so I'm behind that. So a lot of times I don't get on the glass until after the filming is taken care of, and at least the initial filming. And so sometimes that'll get Ryan. In fact, Brad was filming on this hunt, and Brad was filming, and it's who sees it first kills it, right? And so we come up over the hill, and Brad sees something. He's in a race against Lampert, so who's the only one filming? Brad's supposed to be, but he's trying to find the bigger animal first too. So I'm like, dude, guys, I can't, Brad, you got to film with me. You can't abandon me to spot the animal first. So anyway, Brad ended up getting demoted to third in line. So anyway, yeah, Ryan usually spots the animals first, and then what happens though, often, which I'm fine with, he usually turns his nose up at whatever's there that I'm happy to take. Or Sly, nice. Or Jeff Lusk, or any of us are like, I'll take that. So it usually works out just fine. Ryan's biggest fear is I'm going to spot a 200-inch buck before he does, and then have the right to go shoot it.
Ryan hikes with FOMO.
Yeah, like
it's a powered hike.
Yeah, I got to get to the top first. So just in case that 200-inch buck is in the next canyon, I can't let anybody in this group see it before I do. And so I just give it to him. I'm not going to race him to the top. I got some filming to do, and he'd probably implode when that moment happens, if it happens.
Oh, you spotted a bear one time before him.
No, multiple. I've spotted many times. But what's really cool though is in areas where we have multiple tags, it's just my turn.
Yeah.
Whatever we see next, we see. And that's a shooter. And so if Ryan tags out first on a bear hunt where we have 2 tags, I'm just up next automatically, no matter what we see. So that's nice. Also, if Ryan tags out early, I get to choose whatever I want for the rest of the days remaining in the hunt. The same is true for Ryan. If I shoot first, he gets the whole next 7 days, let's say, to just not worry about who spots it first. Like every hour I spend behind the glasses on his behalf. And so it works out it works out fine. It's a great system, but yeah, Ryan tends to spot them first. Yeah. When I go hunt with Brad this year, because I ended up filming Brad a lot on our elk series that we're going to drop soon. When I archery hunted with Brad, I ended up filming Brad a lot. And because he was on the same bull, multiple times in a row. And I'm like, it was kind of his bull, right? A big old stud. And once you're kind of like, that's the one I'm going for, I spotted it. It kind of carried on for a few days. And we realized that toward the end of the hunt that I ended up hunting a lot less, and it just didn't work out. So when we go this year, we plan to hunt more like Born and Raised has done for in the Elkwoods, where it's just every other day. It's Brad's day today. Whatever happens. It's my day. Yeah, and you just go back and forth.
Whatever you see is what you see.
And just take turns, and then when we tag out, we tag out, and that takes a level of unselfishness, and because it could be that the day it's your day, nothing happens. And then the next day it's awesome. And then the next day nothing happens. And the next day it's awesome. And you keep getting hosed out of the equation. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I mean, I found if you're going to hunt with another person, you just got to be unselfish. And somebody has to be in the group unselfish. So otherwise it ain't going to work. If not both people. So, but that's how we roll. There were some other questions around that.
There was the question about why would you shoot a wolf?
Yeah, that came up quite a bit. Why would you shoot a wolf? Dude, everybody listening to this probably, it's not a question for them. A lot of the people I think that tuned in that asked that question are not, hunting is newer to them, or they don't have much experience hunting at all, or they've only hunted in areas where they've never encountered wolves, and they have in their mind an idea of what a wolf is and what it does and how they're managed. That's not quite reflecting reality. But yeah, I've talked about wolves and their impacts before. This wolf was really big. I mean, big old head, big old body. I mean, big wolf, which was really cool to see. I mean,
it's cool looking
big
wolf,
dog.
dude.
I mean, geez, the teeth freaked me out because you think you see teeth on a dog. These wolf teeth,
they were like the length of like snake fangs.
Like I said, when he peeled it up and revealed them, I'm like, that's like a werewolf, like the kind of thing you see in a movie. Like, wow, whole different level.
Fangs.
Yeah, and then some. Yeah, and I had no idea that a wolf's bite was 1,500 pounds of pressure per square inch, and that the world record dog bite is, what was it, 700?
It's like 743.
743, and that's a Kangal.
Kangal,
folks. That's the dog breed, and for some reason, I thought a Kangal. I thought more dogs were like this, but the Kangal is a shepherd dog, and it's in Turkey. And this thing looks. This is a big animal. It's massive. Anyway, this Kangal dog is ridiculous, but it's got the highest bite force of all dogs in the world. It's a Turkish dog. Now, I thought the Mastiff would rank higher and all that kind of stuff. But the dog that came in kind of second was well under the Kangal, and it was a Doberman Pinscher at 600 pounds of pressure per square inch, which just tells you, like, that's insane. And what's real interesting, the Doberman Pinscher wouldn't have been my first guess by any stretch.
It would not have been. The size of the head does not equate to the pounds per square inch. Because what would you think a lion's is?
I don't know.
It's the same as the Dobermans.
600?
It's 600. The King of the Jungle has a bite pressure of 600 PSI. Yeah, but then you go to like a hippo and it's like 40 trillion thousand.
Yeah, a hippo is like, it's like a hydraulic tractor.
Chomp, chomp.
It's just like a hydraulic. Like
a hyena's got like 1,200 or something like that. A hyena was crazy high.
Yeah, hyenas break bones, just crush them in half.
Alligators.
Hyena's got to be higher than a wolf.
I don't know. We'd have to look that up.
I'm sure it's got to be. Look at us.
I know. Tap, tap, tap. Hyena's 1,100, bro.
Really?
Yeah. A wolf's got more than a hyena, which I think, because I've always said hyena has one of the meanest bites in the world, but apparently a wolf, a gray wolf.
It's no joke, dude.
Saltwater crocodiles, saltwater
3,700 psi. Mm-hmm. The great white shark, 4,000 psi.
Yeah,
that's more like a whale.
Yeah, it's not.
I told you the crocodile would be insane.
Yeah,
3,700 psi. I mean, a crocodile gets something. It's a hydraulic motor. What's funny is the hippopotamus is less than the crocodile. 1,800 psi.
It doesn't really matter because I'm never going to go to a place where either one of those things exist.
But the jaguar is 1,500, and they're saying the wolf is
14
or 15. Said 15.
It's nearly 15.
Polar bear is 1,200. Hyena is at 1. Yeah, what's crazy is that the lion isn't that high at all.
It's not, no,
not at all.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to get bit by a Doberman. F that.
Well, even a grizzly bear is only around 1,000. The tiger is 1,000. But all the bears aren't that high.
Bro, my new biggest fear is getting ate by a brown bear while I'm just chilling in my cabin up in Canada.
But a jaguar has crazy. It's at 1,500. But I bet that's because they carry their prey into a tree. Like they've got to hold on to that to climb into a tree. I mean, you probably only need 500 bite force to kill things.
Lions normally just suffocate things with their bites.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, the Doberman is 600, which kind of surprised me. But that just goes to show how the bite force of a wolf is nuts.
Dude, it just bite through your arm. Chonk. Chonk, chonk.
Yeah. The biting capacity of wolves, 1,500 pounds of pressure per square inch. The strength of a wolf's jaws make it possible to bite through a moose femur in 6 to 8 bites. A moose femur. Have you ever seen one of those?
No.
I've held one. That's insane. And a German Shepherd is right around 700 pounds of pressure. So they're saying a German Shepherd's right up there with the information varies. This says bite force debunked or myths debunked or whatever.
Yeah, well, I don't think like this is going to be something people are doing all the time.
Yeah.
I doubt like there's a ton of data. I'm pretty sure Larry went out and did this once, and we said, that's good enough, Larry.
We're probably just spreading all sorts of misinformation.
I know. PSI is probably not even a thing.
But regardless, when you look at these in ratios from animal to animal, you can really see there's probably a lot of ways it's measured depending on how they measure it. Anyway, the point is wolf is serious business. Serious business.
The question was, why did you shoot it, though?
Did you see that dead elk in the video?
I saw it, yeah.
Yeah, that was gross, dude. That thing reeked. And that bear had been all over it and the wolves. I mean, we didn't know it was there, but we spent the night there and we woke up and there was just all the birds flying over it. And we're like, dude, something must be dead right there. And then, and it wasn't far from us, actually, just up that hill, about 100 or so yards. But never noticed it the night before because our wind was, we just didn't pick it up. And what's so funny, that elk we see in the morning right when we woke up, the elk, they were coming down the ridge. They were standing right by that dead carcass, not far from it. And then the wolf was there. It was just a hot place of activity. That bear was hanging out right there. His tracks were everywhere and his scat was everywhere. I don't know how long. He'd probably been eating it for a while. And then smelled us and was like, I'm out. But hunting wolves is a hot button issue. Bears, thankfully, in general, are not anymore. I don't get almost any questions about bears anymore. Black bears, hunting black. Why would you do that? I think because the food aspect of it means a lot to people. Means a lot, and it should. Do you kill to eat or not? Right? Are you utilizing it for food or not? And it's clear now for people that black bear is an excellent food source. They're mostly omnivore. They eat mostly grass matter and vegetable matter, especially those mountain bears, and then berries. They eat a lot of grubs and insects and stuff and larvae, and the occasional fawn that they can get their hands on, and any animal they can eat, birds, eggs, nests, whatever.
They're not picky.
Their diet is mostly vegetable matter, and they taste phenomenal. They taste amazing, and they are some of the best game meat out there. And I think people are now seeing that as a thing, and they're also realizing that black bears are plentiful. And I don't think black bears carry the same charismatic appeal that a grizzly bear does. You know, people see black bears more commonly in California. They see them out on the trails. They see them poking in people's yards. They don't see them as this super exotic animal that is in the wild. And they don't have the same cute features. You know, they're all over New Jersey and all over the Midwest and the United States in general. In every state almost there's black bears, a lot of states. And they all have they get in people's garbage cans and come into the city and the edge of suburban areas. And so I think people's opinion on black bears is just, okay, yeah, I can see shooting black bears just because of them as a food source and so on. And they don't have that super megafauna feel. When they think grizzly bear, they think totally different. Same with wolves. People look at wolves and they're not making a logical argument about why they should or shouldn't be hunted. They're making an emotional argument. It looks like my dog. Or I just think that that poor thing shouldn't be killed, right? And it's not a logical approach. Now, I did mention, I took the stats that I put in the film off of studies out of Yellowstone, where they figured out how many elk are being killed by the Yellowstone wolves per wolf, per month, per year, per pack, right? And kind of you and I put kind of the stats down, basically, like in the state of Idaho, based on the number of wolves that are there, extrapolating the numbers from the Yellowstone study, they're killing somewhere between 25 and 30,000 elk per year. And that's a pretty conservative number, actually. It was like 34,000 possibly. And so we threw out a pretty conservative number based on the number of wolves that the state guesses are out there, which I think is a low estimate, saying there's 1,500 wolves in the state of Idaho, which I don't believe that for a second. It's like what they're saying about grizzly bears. We see a grizzly bear every day when we're in Wyoming and Montana and stuff, and yet they're telling us
there's like 4,000 of them.
There's like none left, still. And you're like, I'm running into them everywhere. They're everywhere. Like, it's beyond time to start hunting grizzly bear in the lower 48. Come on. Same with wolves, right? They're everywhere. The idea, that we shouldn't hunt them is also baffling to me. If I divorce myself from emotion on a logical level, it doesn't make sense to me not to hunt wolves. Now, the thing about it is there's some interesting facts about wolves, statistics, information, whatever you want to say. In the state of Idaho, as the governor has signed the bill to reduce the wolf population by 90%, he didn't sign a bill to mandate them reduce the population to 90%, by the way. What he said was, we're going to remove restrictions on hunting wolves because none of them are getting killed. Like, we're way behind. Whatever, they can't dip below 90% of a reduction, because then they'll be in violation of the Endangered Species Act and the agreement.
I'm not worried about them overcorrecting and wiping out the wolves.
That's the thing. They're not going to.
They can't even barely manage it as it is. They're not managing it.
And so some people have this idea that hunters are going out and just whacking wolves, and it's unfair. And it's like 1% of of all the wolves harvested in the state of Idaho is estimated. 1% is by hunters with a tag. Hunters like actively rifle hunting them.
That's nothing.
Actively going after a wolf, 1%. So that means, let's say there's 400 wolves taken in Idaho per year. Out of that 400, 1% is taken without trapping. That means 99% of all those wolves of that number is done through trapping. Mm-hmm. So you could reduce all the regulations, no seasons, tags are $5 a piece. You can shoot up to 4 wolves on one tag. You can hunt them at night. You can use thermal imagery, night vision. You can, shoot them from a chopper. You could do all the things and say green light. And what are they going to increase it from 1% to 5%?
Maybe.
Total harvest? You're not killing them, people.
No.
And people who don't spend a lot of time outside and don't spend a lot of time hunting in the wilds, they have in their idea that you're bumping into wolves or will bump into wolves all the time.
I was going to say,
take advantage of them.
Who has spent more time out in the woods than Ryan Lampers? And this is his first wolf, and he's 47?
Yeah, that's what I mean. But the argument can be made that they've only been reintroduced in recent time, and they're expanding now. Seeing a wolf 10 years ago and seeing one now, totally different thing. They're everywhere now. They're here. So the other thing that, though, to talk about is, I just want to reiterate, if you removed all the restrictions, wolves are still going to be fine. You can shoot away, and you're not gonna dent them. You're not. The other thing that's also true is wolves. As wolves destroy entire herds, I had some people say something to the effect of, Idaho signed the bill to reduce the number of wolves, or to reduce wolf restrictions on wolves. But at the same time, and by the way, they're hiring, I think they said they have a budget of $600,000 for independent contractors to come in and trap wolves. So they're going out of their way to hire professionals. They have a big budget for professionals to trap wolves on a regular basis. Now, keep in mind, people are enraged by this, but California does the same thing. They just keep it on the down low.
Yep. California
goes out and traps 500 mountain lions a year or something,
more than
and just tosses them into a pile.
Yep.
They don't keep the hides. They don't keep the meat. They don't. And mountain lion meat's awesome, and they do this annually just to keep the population down. Independent contractor. It's a waste, but yet they don't want hunters to be able to do it and actually consume it
and pay for it.
It doesn't make sense. It's all emotional. It's all stupid. But so reducing the wolf regulations won't change the impact of the harvest. In my opinion, I seriously doubt you're gonna make a dent. You're still gonna have to have trappers do the majority of the work. And that's that. Now, again, somebody mentioned, well, Brian, from what Idaho, because the Game and Fish wasn't happy with the governor's bill. And in some ways, I agree. I'm torn on it. I do want wildlife agencies to make the decision for themselves. And this was made arbitrarily by politicians, basically, and lobbyists and so forth. And I think that's bad. We need to let our wildlife engagement agencies make those decisions. But right now we live in a world where politicians override our experts and just do what they want to do. Or our experts are polluted, corrupted by our politicians, so they don't do what they know they should do anyway.
Chicken or the egg, whatever.
So, but the thing is there are areas where elk cannot sustain a livelihood if wolves are there, because the terrain and the area is just too conducive to killing elk that live there.
They can't get away from the wolves.
There's not enough escape routes. There's not enough water or food or other sources.
They just have land they can't
or in the
access
wintertime,
anymore.
They just get decimated. Mm-hmm. So in areas like that where the wolves have moved in, the populations have really gone down, and some have been mostly wiped out. So a lot of people will say, man, I used to hunt here all the time 20 years ago, and it was the best hunting unit in the state, and now I can't find a bull elk to save my life. And that's 100% true. Now, in other areas, the state is claiming that overall they have a higher population of elk than they've ever had, than they've had in decades, we should say. Same with deer, the all-time highs. So why are we going to reduce the wolf population if that's all fine? Well, there's a couple of things at play here. In my opinion, and this is shooting from the hip a little bit, just based on my experience with feet on the ground. That's like saying, because there's bears in Montana, because there's not enough bears throughout Montana, we should never hunt bears, ever. Or there's not enough bears throughout the whole United States, so we can't hunt them because they haven't restored populations in other states. It's like, it's all about local areas. Mm-hmm. Like, it's all about density in a certain area. You hunt bears, grizzly bear, in areas where they're out of control. Mm-hmm. You have to manage those areas. So if there's an area where a caribou population is getting decimated by let's say wolves in that area, and you want that caribou herd to survive, you're going to have to get rid of some of those wolves and help them bounce back. Or you had 2 hard winters and fawn recruitment for mule deer is just dead. They lost them all, two winters in a row. And it's like, what's left is getting decimated by the wolves. You need to manage those areas. So managing an area you might have an overall increase in total elk in the state of Idaho, but in certain pockets, they're at an all-time low or gone. And that's the case where it's like, okay, well, let them manage them themselves in areas where they want them managed, and let the hunting be very unrestricted. It's no different than how we hunt elk or deer. If there's a huge population of elk that's coming into the city and causing problems and eating, farming, like
more tags,
then it's like, everybody come out here and shoot these elk when they come onto the ag fields.
You can get 2 tags.
You can get 2 tags. It's like, you give them away. And the same thing is true, I think it should be true for the wolf situation in certain locales. You're managing them for that section of land, not for the state, as a whole. And just because elk are at an all-time high overall doesn't mean that in these 5 units, they're just decimated. They're not decimated. So I think you have to look at it from another perspective. But if you just look at it on the whole, though, 30,000 elk consumed by wolves each year. The question one could ask is, how many wolves do we want? And how many do we want and the cost, and then you have to acknowledge the cost of that. Mm-hmm. You're feeding protein, elk protein, deer and elk to a wolf population that you've established. How many elk are you willing to give to the wolves?
You got to budget
versus give to the humans.
You have to budget. Like if you have a dog needs kibble, $60 to $80 a month. You have to budget for that.
Right.
Same thing. If you're going to keep wolves out in the forest, you got to budget that.
Exactly.
And Idaho didn't budget.
Well, they budgeted. It's just that the idea of keeping wolf populations down, that's like trying to keep cockroach populations down or mice populations down. They've survived eons because they're survivors. You don't just walk out and go, let's trim the grass. Let's trim the wolves today. They're not going to let you kill them.
Yeah.
They're going to stay alive. And so it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder than you think to try to keep that population to a certain level. So at the end of the day, though, again, you're going to feed a certain amount of, if you're going to choose to have 1,500 wolves or 4,000 wolves in the state, then you're going to have to choose how much. You're going to have to agree that they're allowed to eat this much of your herds. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, where are you going to replace that? Are you going to do more farming in Iowa, ranching in Montana, Texas? Like where are you going to put? Where are you going to get that new resource? And that's why the Wild Initiative project is cool, because they're looking at, okay, where like 300 million pounds of white-tailed deer meat 10 years ago, I think that was the estimate, is consumed per year in the United States. So if you were to eliminate that, feed it to an unchecked wolf population, let's say, and the wolves ate, a third of those annually, that's fine. But that's 100 million pounds gone, fed to the wolves. What are you going to do to replace that? Because right now it's being consumed by humans. Mm-hmm. Those humans got to go somewhere. They got to get it somehow, some way. And that's going to have an impact. It's all about managing the resource, budgeting. And people they seem to think the wild is just the wild.
That nature can check itself.
And that it just like works itself out. Mm-hmm. But it's not like that.
No, we've kind of shoehorned our foots in there. It doesn't work so well.
Well, I gave that analogy before. I think only 20 to 25%, 20% of the U.S. it basically is public land, is untouched sort of public land areas. Mm-hmm. That means 80% of the country is private and people live there and do things. And we've pushed wildlife to the outer edges in these little pockets. And we seem to think that those areas are vast, wild places. They're not. You go 20 miles and you run into another city or another road. You got pockets here and there. Mm-hmm. But you don't have these big frontiers that people seem to think we have. And so they don't realize that, in a microcosm, like if you were to look at it from a high level, you actually have a herd of elk trapped in a little corral, and then you put wolves in with them. I mean, effectively,
it's a bit of a dick move, man. Can you imagine those elk?
That's the imagery. Out? Well, I don't know if I agree with that because wolves definitely kill the weak, right? Kill the ones that can't survive. They help by wiping out a lot of elk. They get rid of disease and elk that have problems and aren't the toughest of the tough. It's Darwinianism at its peak, right? Mm-hmm. The strong survive, the smart survive, the resilient survive. So you get an elk that's different than the elk that continues year after year, 100-year over 100-year period not being hunted by wolves. You're going to get a different animal at the end of a long period of time, just because they don't have to strive to evade that potential, that predator. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I think wolves are an interesting topic. All in all, I don't have sentimental attachments to animals, species. I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe I'm just wired different, but I have never seen, for instance, I've never had these emotional attachments to whether I eat a monkey or I eat a crocodile or I eat a deer or I eat a dog or like literally it's all protein. Like I don't see it. I don't have some romantic feelings for. I appreciate them all kind of equally across the board. I really do. So one of the things that annoys me is when I watch a show, like it's a pet peeve of mine. I'm not saying it's bad for people to feel this way. It just annoys me. When I watch like Ranella and he's like, yeah, sometimes I just want to watch the bear and I don't want to shoot it because, I have a soft spot for bears and or I'm not going to shoot a wolverine because, I appreciate the animals too. But I don't see the wolverine any differently than I see the deer or the elk in terms of its right to be here. Am I making any sense at all? Like, I don't feel it. I'm like, it's a wolf. I care about it like I care about the deer or the elk as well. They all belong here and they all belong here at certain levels. And as long as we're doing our best to harvest those resources and manage those resources, but still giving them all an equal opportunity to survive, we're doing it right.
Well, as far as I know, we just manage the populations, period. We manage the populations of elk. We manage the population of deer. We manage the population of wolves. We've been trying to manage the population of wolves. We haven't been doing well, and they've implemented a new plan to counteract. That's it.
There are some people who will come along and say, I don't think you should hunt wolves because I don't think you need to.
Well, you're wrong.
Because, they'll kind of establish themselves and you have a higher elk herd than you've ever had, blah, blah, blah. You also have a ballooning wolf population. Mm-hmm. Every year they're
bigger and bigger.
Bigger. You don't really know what the state of Idaho will turn into in 20 years if you don't ever kill a wolf.
Are you going to just ruin elk hunting for 40 years because they just go unchecked?
And that's why... I know areas in Idaho that are booming with elk, 100%. There's no wolves there.
Yeah.
There's no wolves there. I don't think people get that. Yeah, right. And then you look at areas where there are wolves, like if you were to talk about Yellowstone, there's less elk. You can't say there's more elk in Yellowstone than there was before the wolves.
No.
There's more.
They've been eaten.
Yeah, there's fewer elk now than there was before in Yellowstone. Wherever wolves have gone, there are fewer elk. We should say that. Yeah. So the idea that we have more elk than ever, how many of the areas that don't have wolves are compensating for the areas that lost elk due to wolves? Because I don't know. I don't know the answers to all that, but I do know this. When someone says, I don't think we should hunt them because we don't need to, because you're not going to eat it. I'm like, yeah, but I like the fur. And it's a renewable resource. People are like, you're not going to eat a coyote. Yeah, but I like the fur. A beaver, I probably won't eat it. Although I hear the tail is good.
I heard it's good.
But I like the fur. You know what I mean? Like, these are renewable resources, but people want the idea of the fur and the pelt and all that to not be a thing. They see that almost as like a trophy thing rather than a useful thing to garnish your home or to like get a fur hat out of, or your wife fur coat from coats from head to toe.
She likes her fur.
Yeah. So
fur is nice, man.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's a shame we don't use it more because it is a renewable resource. And every time you want to replace fur, when you have plenty of fur out there to harvest from, and you want to get rid of that, and instead you want to replace it with man-made synthetics and other things.
It takes up so much more room, space, and
energy,
resources.
Equipment, gear, chemicals, and all that stuff. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, just a discussion.
Yeah.
This is to get people asking questions and thinking about it. But when I look at wolves, I think there's plenty of them. They're a renewable resource. I'm not worried about their survival. I am, however, worried about their overpopulation. So I'd rather err on the safe side and take them when the opportunity arises. And that's it, in a nutshell. So, anyway, tune in Sunday. We're going to drop our part 2 and leave a comment. We're giving away trekking poles for people who leave a comment on the YouTube videos, and that helps us with our algorithms. We got trekking poles, Peaks gaiters, and poles that we're selling, sissy sticks and poles, and gaiters. And then we're giving away a Graxaw boot dryer for those who share our story on their Instagram, our film on their Instagram channel, on their stories and stuff, and tag us, Brian Call, Stealthy Hunter. And also,
we're giving away an Initial Ascent backpack.
An Initial Ascent backpack for everyone who becomes a supporter over at
Locals,
the Gritty Stealthy Community at locals.com.
That is gritty.locals.com.
If you just type in gritty.locals.com, you'll find it. And if you join up there as a supporter, you'll be entered to win the Initial Ascent pack. And we're going to do that giveaway around August 1st. So it's going on right now. And I really dig that pack. It's an awesome pack. And I think the Locals is growing over there. It's a really cool community. We're doing live streams over on Locals, interacting with the community there.
In like 5 minutes.
In 5 minutes, yep. I'm going to sit down with the crew over there, and then there's exclusive film content and podcast content that you can only get over there. And you can get over there, and there's a community, and you can ask questions and engage and post photos and share. And we're kind of building that community right now, and we're really, really happy with how that's turning out. And I think it's going to continue to be a really cool place, and it helps us be independent because it's $70 for the year, which is about $5.88 per month, and that really helps us out. So if you're a big fan of what we do, that's a big support to us. It's huge, and that's if you want to support us another way. Always look through the description field on our YouTube videos, and you can see when you watch films, podcasts, whatever, there's links down below. And when you guys use our affiliate codes, that helps us out. Use them at Mountain Ops, use them at Stealthy Hunter, use them over at, you got Seek Outside, Alpaca Rafts, you got Canvas Cutter.
There's a bunch of them.
Sheep Feet, Treeline Pursuits, E-Scouting. All that stuff. There's cool ones. So check those out. That helps us out. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Stay gritty.